Hi there, welcome to the video. Today we're going to be looking at some theory test questions on other types of vehicles, which I believe is often a category that people struggle with when revising for theory test. Often I think it's because people don't think about these sorts of things because it's other types of vehicles apart from cars, which you might not know about, but you still need to know about because you could be dealing with them when you're on the roads driving your car. So basically I've got 4 or 5 questions here. We're going to go through them and help you understand what the answer is and more importantly why it's that answer. So let's start off with the first question. So you're about to overtake a slow moving motorcyclist. Which one of these signs would make you take special care? Now this question you need to understand your road signs, because some of these signs, like particularly this one here, a lot of people don't have a clue what it means. This one here, people might have an idea but might get it a bit wrong, might not quite know. So you really need to know your signs. The first thing with road signs you should understand is the signing system. Basically, if it's a triangle, such as this, it's a warning. Triangles are warnings, and that's really going to help with this question, because it's saying which one of these signs will make you take special care. So it's trying to say about which signs you need to be aware of. It's trying to say about a warning. So it's probably going to be this sign because it's a warning sign. And a circular sign is an order. So like the O of order. So these are orders. A red circle is an order saying you must not do something. So this is you must not turn left. So no turning left. And this sign here means no stopping. And so just back to the triangular sign for a moment. So this sign here is a triangle sign, so it's a warning. And this is supposed to represent the kind of the flags they have and the kind of what's called, I think they're called the socks you have at airports, which show the traffic controllers in the airport tower which way the wind's blowing and how strong the wind's blowing. So this represents side winds and winds, so warning of side winds. Now this final sign is your sign you'd get on a one-way road. So it's saying to you one-way road. So you've got warning of side winds, no left turns, one-way road, and no stopping. So out of these options, side winds is going to be the best answer and it's going to be the correct answer. Not turning left not being allowed to turn left isn't really going to affect your overtaking, nor are the other two really, but side winds will. Because smaller road users like motorcycles and cyclists can be pushed around by the wind because they're light. Just like this unfortunate lady here. It's also worth noting that side winds can also affect larger vehicles such as lorries and buses. Not of course because they're light, but because of the sheer size of them, they've got a very large surface area on the side of them. So lots of wind is going to hit the side of them, and it's going to basically push them over potentially just because of the surface area on the side. So with stuff like, as well as being careful when overtaking a cyclist or a motorcycle in high winds, you'd want to give them loads of space, much more room than you would a car if it's in strong winds, possibly even consider not overtaking them. But also do the same with a lorry if it's strong winds. You'd possibly not even consider overtaking them if it's strong winds, because they're all moving around. Imagine if you're next to this lorry as that happened to him. It's not going to be good. So be very careful in side winds with very large vehicles and very, very small ones. Stuff like cars, side winds aren't going to affect too much. They're almost like the perfect medium. They're not too big, not too small. So next question. What's the maximum speed of powered wheelchairs or scooters used by disabled people? Now, this is an interesting one. Because you kind of, it could almost be any of them. And you kind of need to know the information, the figure really, of what the maximum speed is for powered wheelchairs and scooters. So we're talking about things like this. But I suppose if you consider the average walking speed is about 3 miles an hour, if you had someone in one of these doing kind of what, 12 miles an hour is 4 times the walking speed. That's probably getting onto a reasonably fast run, almost a sprint. That's pretty fast to be travelling one of these. You're going to have quite a nervous elderly person or disabled person. Certainly even at 16 or 20 miles an hour, that's going pretty fast to be in one of these little things here. So the answer would be 8 miles an hour. The maximum speed for them is 8 miles an hour, although some of them are restricted to a maximum of 4 miles per hour. But the maximum speed you could possibly have in one of these sorts of things is 8 miles per hour. So you just got to find somewhere for remembering that number in your head. So when you think of these, think of 8 miles an hour. I was trying to think myself of it. I don't know how you could remember it. Maybe it's got 4 wheels on, so they're sometimes going to do 4 miles an hour, but sometimes they can do double that. So double 4 is 8. So I'm just trying to think of a way you could remember. It's 8 miles an hour is the maximum these things can do. Hi guys, I thought I'd just show you this book to add to your collection. The New Driver's Handbook. It's a 3-in-1 book, and it's got some pretty good reviews from a driving examiner and a driving instructor. It has over 800 practice theory test questions, common driving test faults, driving test general tips, and advice on dealing with nerves on the big day. Finally, it has tips for after you've passed your test, including vehicle maintenance and driving abroad. You can find a link to this book in the description below. Now, back to the video. So, next question. As a driver, why should we be more careful where trams operate? So, all these options here can sound plausible, because you might not know about trams, because you probably haven't driven a tram before, more than likely. So, but because they don't have a horn, so yeah, something on the road's going to really have to have a horn, really. I believe it might even be a legal requirement. So a tram's going to have a horn. Because they can't stop for cars, a tram's going to be able to stop, isn't it? It's going to be harder for a tram to stop, but it is going to be able to stop. Otherwise, they'll never be able to stop at their tram stops to pick up passengers. Because they don't have lights. Well, would a tram stop operating at night time? No, they probably stop at night time. If they're operating at night time, they're going to have lights on because they can't steer to avoid you. That's probably going to be the answer. Because if you think about a tram, just almost when you have these questions, visualise what it's talking about. Take your time, visualise it. What's a tram? Here's a tram. So it's going to have headlights on because it's going to operate at night time. It's going to need to be able to be seen and see and be seen. But it's on rails, a tram. So, much like a train, it's on the rails, and because it's on the rails, it can't steer. So if you're on a train, the train can't steer to avoid something. That's why the trains have level crossings to help them proceed, and there's very strict rules at level crossings, because a train can't steer around if a car stops on the level crossing. So the answer is going to be because they can't steer to avoid you. They're stuck to their track. They can't go anywhere. So let's look at the next question. You're towing a caravan. Which is the safest type of rear view mirror to use? So again, probably never driven a caravan, so you might not know about kind of what all this stuff means. You might not even have the experience of being a passenger when towing a caravan. Your parents may or may not have used a caravan when you're younger. So we've got to think about what these mean. Interior wide-angled mirror, extended arm side mirrors, and ordinary door and interior mirrors. So let's think again, visualise it. Think about towing a caravan, like this here. Now, a caravan's going to be quite big. Typically, it's going to be wider than the car, like on this picture here. See how the car is narrower, the caravan's wider than the car. Now, if you just try to use the interior mirror, what are you going to be able to see behind you? Well, there's a 4-letter word, but I'm not going to say it on this video. It begins with S, ends with T. That's what you can see behind you in the interior mirror. But you can't see anything behind you. All you're going to be able to see behind you is just your caravan. So it's not going to be much use in the interior mirror. So you can kind of rule out option D and A. The interior mirror is not going to help at all. It's like driving the lorry. Lorries don't have an interior mirror because they can't see anything in their interior mirror. There's just a trailer behind them. So it's going to be something to do with the side mirrors or the door mirrors. So if we look here, look what's on the side of this car. They've got an extension to them on their side mirrors. That's because the caravan is wider than the car. So the mirrors need to be extended out so they can see past the caravan to see what's behind them. With the normal side mirrors, the driver can't see anything. They can just see the side of their caravan. So they need special extended side mirrors. So the answer is going to be extended arm side mirrors. Just like these here. So let's have a look at the next question. You're driving heavy traffic on a wet road. Spray makes it difficult to be seen. What lights should you use? Now this is a good one because you really need to understand what the different types of lights are. And again, you might not have had experience of using these different types of lights when you're driving. So let's go through what different types of lights we have. Well, firstly, we're going to rule out one option. This is always a good thing to do, is think about if there's any options you can rule out. The option we're going to rule out is option C. Why C? Well, it says rear fog lights. We're not talking about fog here. We're talking about a wet road with spray. So it's not going to be something to do with fog lights. And also, if you read further into the answer, if visibility is more than 100 metres. Now, they've kind of put that in there. I don't know if to trick you is the right word, but to really make sure you're reading the answer carefully. So visibility is more than 100 metres. So more than 100 metres, 100 metres basically is an average car is 4 metres long. So 100 metres is 25 car lengths. So they're saying if visibility is more than 25 car lengths, then you should turn on your fog lights. So if you could see miles and miles down the road, it's saying turn on your fog lights. That doesn't seem to make sense. Because what the kind of answer, if they change the answer here to rear fog lights, if visibility is less than 100 metres, that would kind of make a bit more sense. But the fact that it said more than doesn't make any sense at all. So it's not going to be option C. Like I say, also because the fact it's saying about fog lights, we're not driving in fog, we're driving on a wet road, not fog. So let's think about these three options, A, B and D. So side lights, sometimes known as parking lights, that might make it easier to understand what they're used for. They're just very, very small little bulbs. They're almost like a candle in the dark. They're not going to light up anything in front of you. It's just going to be a little candle in the dark, just so you can maybe be seen by the road users a little tiny bit. And like, so this other name gives you a clue, parking lights. So side lights are used for when you're parking at night on a road with a speed limit of over 30 miles per hour. The reason being, hopefully as you'll know from your theory, if the speed limit on the road is 30 miles an hour or lower, there should be street lights on that road. You're based in a residential area. So you wouldn't need to leave headlights on or lights on when you park your car at night, because the street lights will light up the road and make your car visible when you're parked up. But if you're parked on a road with a speed limit of over 30, theoretically there'd be no street lighting. So it's going to be a very dark road. So if you're going to leave your car on a road like that, you'd want to leave on these side lights, the parking lights, which is this symbol here, to make sure your car is visible when it's parked up. And because they're very small bulbs, you'll be a little bit visible, but it's not going to drain your battery overnight, because they're not going to use too much power. So it's not going to be side lights, because like I say, side lights is when you're parking at night on a road with a speed limit of over 30 miles per hour. Let's think about the next one. Dipped beam headlights, aka, sometimes they're just called headlights, sometimes people just drop the dipped bit. Sometimes known as low beam or dipped beam. So this is the symbol for dipped beam. And as we can see by the lights, they kind of angle off to one side. This is why if you ever driven in another country, maybe your parents have driven in another country, you sometimes have to re-angle your headlights, or sometimes you have to sort of put tape on your front headlights to make sure your lights are angled away from the oncoming traffic. Because in the UK, the headlights are always going to be angled to the left like this. If you're driving the other side, the headlights will be angled into the oncoming traffic's eyes, which wouldn't be good. So That's what dipped beam are. Let's also look at the next one, full beam. So this is the symbol for full beam, and this is what full beam are like. So full beam fully light up the whole road in front of you. They're much brighter and they're not angled and dipped in any sort of direction. So these are going to dazzle any vehicles that might be in front of you, whether it be an oncoming vehicle or a vehicle you're following. Maybe there's a vehicle here. So you'd never want to use full beam headlights, also known as high beam, if there's vehicles ahead of you. You'd only want to use it in a dark road if there's nothing in front of you at all. So let's go back to the question. So it's not going to be side lights, it's not going to be fog lights, it's not going to be full beam lights, because it says you're driving in heavy traffic. So full beam lights, if you're in heavy traffic, this is going to blind the traffic in front of you. It's too bright. So it's going to be these ones, the dipped beam. So it just lights up the road in front of you, and they're not so bright they're going to dazzle if there's a car in front that you're following, as they are dipped down to the floor slightly. They're not kind of facing straight in your face like the full beam. So the answer is going to be dipped headlights. So I hope this video helped. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave a comment below. And thanks for watching, and bye for now.